Hello viewers and welcome back to the return of everyone's favourite Letterboxd Logged show, Last Month I Watched. Now for those of you that are unaware, this is a very simple series, but I'm going to break it down real quick because of the fact that we've not done this in a while. Basically, this is your monthly Letterboxd Logged show from Media 13 where I will catalogue each and every film that I watched in the month before. And if you need me to repeat these rules next week, I'm going to be very confused. Now for those of you who are more familiar with my serious stuff here, I'm afraid to say that this is going to be nothing like that. This background will not stay like this, by the way, we're just partying for the return. And also because Media 13 turned 7 this month, and I thought what better way to celebrate it than bringing back a series that barely cracked 70 views most of the time. This could go on to be a disastrous decision, but if it does, we'll just sweep this return under the carpet and we'll pretend it didn't happen. One ground rule before we get into things is that this is going to be on the first Wednesday of every month, instead of being just the first day of every month like it used to be. So without further ado, people, feel free to leave a like on the video if you go on to enjoy this, because it lets me know that you do want to see Last Month I Watched continue to be a part of this channel in the future. And with all that being said, let's get into June's movies. We started things off on the 8th with 007 No Time to Die. This is the last Daniel Craig movie and, to date, the final James Bond movie. I think this thing is phenomenal. I understand that a lot of people have issues with the way that it ends, and I can certainly understand why, but I can also agree that I think those people are wrong. No Time to Die is a special film for me because I really don't care for James Bond as a franchise. I've only ever seen the Daniel Craig ones and I don't care to go any further back than that. But the experience I had watching this thing was unreal. I loved the cinema experience. This is the third time I think I've watched it since, and it is still just as great, and I gave it a 4.5 star. The rating system isn't finalised. I will finalise it at some point. This is a pilot episode, so things could go wrong. We're going to iron out the kinks before we secure anything for sure. We then get into our first rewatch of the month when on the 9th I went to the cinema to see Ballerina. This is with known channel associate Reese, who has been on and off with the controversy across both here and TikTok. And I liked this movie. I think it's probably my favourite John Wick film because of the fact that the main character can actually act. I will not elaborate further purely because if you need me to explain why I don't think Keanu Reeves is a very good actor, I personally don't think you watch him close enough. But yeah, I loved this. It was very stylish, very aesthetically pleasing to watch. I loved the combat, I loved the camera work. It was all so much fun. And to his credit, I even did enjoy Keanu Reeves here, but I don't know how much of that is because of the fact that he's not really in the film besides maybe 10 minutes worth of screen time, if that. Then moving on to the 10th, it was another rewatch because I watched Ready or Not with my girlfriend, which is another new development that has been had since the start of this series. Yeah, how did the guy that hosted Last Month I Watched get a girlfriend? I don't fucking know either. I enjoy this one still. I made a video on it a while ago talking about why I think it creates one of the perfect examples of a great final girl, and I think that sentiment still holds true. I love Grace as a character, and I love this film, and I gave it a 4.5 star. I don't know what I was trying to say there. I also gave Ballerina a 3.5 star. I can't remember if I mentioned that, so if I did, you won't actually see this part, but if I didn't, then you will. I've just realised I forgot to change the fucking lights. There we go. We're going to just go completely red for the rest of this. On to the 11th, I watched Clown in a Cornfield. This was another first watch, and I gotta say, I wasn't its biggest fan, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun enough. It's a decent movie that I think knows what it wants to be, but I think sometimes it just becomes a little too silly, and I also don't know if part of my criticism comes from the fact that it really isn't the movie I was expecting it to be, which, caveat, I understand isn't a fault of the movie, more so a fault of my own. I'm willing to hold that, and I will refrain from giving a finalised opinion until I have seen it again, which will likely be sometime in the near future, but I don't want to nail anything down. But yeah, pokey fun, I enjoyed it. I reckon you should give it a watch. If you like horror movies and you like campy slasher flicks, you'll probably enjoy it. I gave it a 3.5 star. Moving on to the 12th, we rewatched Toy Story. Now, out of context, this might seem a little strange in conjunction with the rest of what we've watched, but partnering that with the TikTok fact that I also do a thing called Random Movie Review over there now, in which I randomly review movies that I own, it makes more sense when that is what I was given. Quality film, it's iconic, I gave it a 4 star, and on the same day I did a second random movie review. I got I Spit on Your Grave, the 2010 remake, and I still fucking despise it. Half star, easily, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm pretty sure that the last time I attended these movies, I was doing Last Month I Watched. I could be wrong on that, but I'm fairly certain. Hate this movie, hate this franchise, I don't think it should exist. Moving on. On to the 15th, the random movie review wheel gave us It Chapter 2. I personally wish I could have watched Chapter 1 first, but the wheel had spoken. I remember not liking this one as much, but on a rewatch it has definitely improved. I do think it's something that would hold more weight when watched with the first film, but again, my hands were tied there. I gave it a 3.5 star, I don't hate it, I do wish it was more, but I'm at the stage where I'm at peace with what we have. Now we get into the good stuff, ladies and gentlemen, because on the 16th I watched the masterpiece, the beautiful work of cinema that is Sinners. Fantastic movie. From top to bottom, everything about this thing is incredible, and I'm gonna say it, it's top of my list of the year so far. I cannot describe the feeling that I had while watching this movie. I loved it so much. I love every aspect about this, from the cinematography to the acting performance to the sound design and the music. Everything about it is fantastic. So much so that, maybe impulsively, according to Reese, I've put it in my top 4 on Letterboxd. Will it be there in a month's time? I don't really know, but right now it is, and you're just gonna have to live with that. 5 star, nailed on. On the 17th, I watched Strange Darling, which is another first watch that I had wanted to see for a while, and I finally got the chance to, and I enjoyed it quite a bit actually. I gave it a 3.5 star. I thought there was some issues with it. I wasn't really sure with the narrative choice to structure it in the way that they did to begin with, but obviously upon the revelation it makes sense. You couldn't really do it any other way. I think it's great seeing Willa Fitzgerald lead something outside of the Scream series, because she deserved so much better after what was a great performance in that. Kyle Gallner, as usual, solid performance, nothing really goes wrong there. And yeah, overall, just a pretty strong film. It's an enjoyable watch. It's confusing to begin with, but it does get into things as it goes on, and it all makes sense by the time it wraps up. 3.5 stars. On to the 18th, I rewatched Bullet Train, which is a film that I honestly didn't think I'd rewatch as many times as I have at this point, but maybe that's a precedent to how good the movie actually is. I gave it a 3.5 star. I think this is a really fun action movie, considering that's a genre that I typically don't really go into anymore. I think the performances are a blast. Aaron Taylor-Johnson is easily my favourite aspect of this film, and continues to be every time I see it. Again, 3.5 stars. On the 19th, I rewatched Hill House LLC, which is a found footage horror film that I do plan on covering at some point later this year, so stay tuned for that. But this is another solid movie. I think this is a great foundational film in a franchise that has a pretty solid reputation by this point, with a new one coming out either this year or next. I just think it's solid. I think the scares are well worked, I think the dynamics are well acted out between the characters, and I just don't really think there's a whole lot to complain about. Moving on to the 21st, we then followed that with Hell House LLC 2, The Abaddon Hotel, which is something that I enjoyed the first time round, but I definitely didn't enjoy anywhere near as much this time. I think it does expand on stuff well enough to the point where it justifies its existence, but at the same time, I don't think it's anything special to justify a craving to rewatch it. I think as part of a franchise, it is compulsory and it does serve its purpose, but there's no memorable moment for me that really sticks out. I gave this one a 3 star because, again, I do think in the grand scheme of the franchise it definitely worked and it has more good than bad. I just think it is a little disappointing, and the quality is definitely at a low point in the franchise here for me. On the 22nd, I watched the 2025 release Marshmallow, and I wasn't overly impressed with it. I did think there was some good qualities to it, but overall it was a little meandery, it was meddling at points. It just wasn't very inspiring. It wasn't a film that had me engaged at any point, but then at the same time, for some reason I gave it 3 stars, so maybe I just don't remember what it was that engaged me at the time, because I did rate it right off of finishing the film. On the 24th, I watched Savage Land, which is a found footage mockumentary type film that I had wanted to watch for the longest time. Finally got the chance to, and I am so glad that I did. I don't think it's anything show-stopping. I gave it 3.5 star here, but I think in general, in the grand scheme of the found footage landscape, this is definitely one of the better ways that tension is built and sustained through a narrative. I think the framing device of the documentary that follows this massacre of a town is great. I think the way that the story unfolds is fantastic. I love the use of the photographs. I think that is a really unique touch that I'd like to see redone. And yeah, some really haunting imagery that will definitely stick with me should I want to ever cover this on the channel. On the 25th, I rewatched A Quiet Place Day 1, which honestly I think is probably my favourite Quiet Place movie at this point. I think that while part 1 has the strongest moment in the ending sacrifice scene, I think as a whole, A Quiet Place Day 1 just perfectly encapsulates what I like from my movies more than the other two do. I love the way that humanity is respected and sustained throughout A Quiet Place Day 1, and I think the performances from Joseph Quinn and Lupita Nyong'o are just show-stopping. They were two of my favourite performances from the year that this film came out, and I definitely think that it is a memorable one that should be talked about more than it is. If you haven't seen this one yet, then please do. I gave it a 4-star. I think you would really enjoy it if you like horror movies, because it is just a solid effort. Also on the 25th, I watched Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Now, this is a film I have seen before. I watched it between last month. I watched Seasons. Fantastic movie. I didn't realise how much I could love comedy that has just... It's so on the nose and stupid, and it's just so perfectly encapsulative of what I find funny. I gave it a 4.5 star. I absolutely love this thing. Leslie Nielsen is quickly becoming one of my favourite actors. I understand I'm a tad late to that. We followed it up on the 26th with Naked Gun 2, which was another rewatch, and I gave this one a 4 star. And then we followed that up on the 26th as well with the Naked Gun 33 and a third, The Final Insult. That was the first watch. I did enjoy that one, but not nearly as much as the other two, but maybe I just need a rewatch. I gave this one a 3 star. On the 26th, I watched Disney's Robin Hood, the one with the fogs, because I promised my girlfriend we'd watch it after I made her sit through Hell House, and she looked as if she was going to break up with me after the first jump scare, and I got a little scared. I enjoyed it. I'd never seen it before. She showed me a couple of Disney films for the first time that I hadn't seen, and I enjoy it. Again, I feel like we're at a point with these movies where not a whole lot new can actually be said. So again, that was the 26th. I gave it a 4 star, and I thought it was a solid movie. Now on to the 28th, people. We get to our second 5-star of the month. That's right out the gate, we've got 2 5 stars in a single last month I watched episode. F1 the movie is fucking phenomenal. I am blown away by this thing. I think it is an unreal piece of cinema. Joseph Kosinski at this point has proved to me that he can do no wrong. You know, I didn't necessarily love Tron Legacy, which I think has immediately disproved what I've just said, and I haven't seen Oblivion, so I can't give a full opinion. But from the two that I've seen that I do like, fantastic. I think everything here, I'm not a fan of F1, but I think everything here does a fantastic job of elevating stakes and making me feel like a fan of the sport. I see a lot of F1 fans complaining that there's not a whole lot of realism with some of the plot elements, and to that, I couldn't really care, to be honest with you, but I'll listen to them. But yeah, F1 is fantastic. I love it. You definitely have to go and see it. It's definitely the summer movie of the year that isn't going to be a superhero film, in my personal opinion. But then again, what does my personal opinion matter? I get on average about 200 views a month now, and I have like 1,500 subscribers, so no one really cares. Also on the 28th, I rewatched Ghostwatch ahead of something that I'm doing for someone that I will not mention at this moment. I will not go too much into this. I gave it a 3 star, but again, you'll know slightly more of my thoughts closer to the time where that can be revealed. And then to round things off, today, the day of recording, June 29th, I watched Big Hero 6. This was a rewatch. This is one of my favourite Disney movies. I gave it a 4.5 star. I just love it. It's cozy, it's warm, it's soft. It does kill me, it does break my heart a little bit, admittedly, but good movie, very good movie. And so that's gonna do it. That is the first return month of last month that I watched, everyone's favourite Letterboxd Logged show. That's all from me. Let me know what you've been watching down in the comments below. Once again, feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here and you want to make a guy in a pink hoodie feel just a little bit happier about himself. I really hope that you guys like this, because I kind of miss, I didn't realise how much I missed recording these videos. It feels looser, it's nice to just sit down with my, with my, like, the Letterboxd diary up on my phone and just rattle through these films. It's a nice change of pace from the real stuff. So yeah, if you enjoy this, just let me know what you're watching in the comments below. And yeah, Lamal time, baby.